Alright, so we're back for part two of my demo, and here I have my scenario flow. So I have everything already set up, but for the sake of this demo, I will just be recreating it on the bottom so I can reference what I had earlier. I don't have a dual monitor set up, sorry, so I will have to do it this way. Alright, so um, you guys should already have this based on the setup class that we had earlier, but I'll just go through it really quickly again. This is my introduction, and then I had two display messages there. Display message, I'll just add two, and in these, I have this text, and then this one, the second one, was when I mentioned that the user will hear quotes from the professionals' experience. Yeah, you guys get the idea. I'm not gonna copy paste that. Um, and yeah, the display message is pretty straightforward. There's no settings you really need to mess with. If you don't include a header, it's just gonna say notification by default. So always put something as notification. I feel like might take the user out of the experience. Also, the default button text is okay. So if you're okay with that, that's cool. I just chose next to signal to the user that there's something after that, and I saved okay for the very last one. Yeah, wait till finished, of course, that one's already selected, and then anchored. So this just means as soon as the user, like, well, instead of it being in a specific space in the simulation, it's just like anchored to the middle of the screen, wherever the user is. And then display type, I've chosen display only. I think earlier we said display and spoken, but it's up to you guys. We have a lot of free range on this project. There's no real specific like one way to do it. And like this is our first year doing this VR cohort, so yeah, feel free to experiment. All right, moving on, we have open case file. So I'm gonna add another state. You can either click this or I right clicked. Um, I would say it's really good practice to name all of your states just so when you go back and edit it, you know where everything is. So display message saying, yeah, open the case file and then highlights. So if you remember, I had like a yellow highlight around the objects. Oops, I added that to the wrong one. Delete this one. Let's add it here instead. So I have highlights. So I can select my entity, and that was my pen and book. Um, do highlight yes, and then highlight type. You can select whichever you want. By default, it's lines, and I think that's okay too. All right, to make a transition, I click here. I select my origin, select my destination, and boom, there it is. Since I want things to flow from this state to this state naturally without the user having to do anything, I don't have to add anything here. I can just leave this transition as is. Okay, let's create another state for when I touch the case file. So, I named it intro clip because it signals to me when I did use it. Again, use whichever name you think will be most helpful to you. And as you can see, I have a play audio first. And this is the bell chime noise that you guys were listening to. Bell chime is already built in. And I did 0.7, I play tested that, and I think that was a good sound. I felt like one was a little too loud, but up to you guys. And then wait until audio finishes. That's already checked. That's really important. Otherwise, if you untoggle it, it'll just move on the simulation when the sound's not done, which I think is a little like too rushed. So after every time I use an object or ask the user to left click on an object, I wanted to play the audio sound just to give that haptic feedback to the user that what they did had an effect or they successfully touched the object. What we've been talking about with like spatial awareness, like interaction considerations, like this is where it's coming into play, right? I'll just do the transition now. So I want the use one, and I want to use the pen and book. Yep. And yep, all these settings are good. The grab one is a little different. I didn't use it. But the grab basically looks like once the user clicks on the object, it'll appear on the bottom left of their, or the bottom right of their screen, as if it's like in the user's hand. So if you want that, there's a little more setup to do that. You can refer to the documentation, but for the sake of my example, I will not be using it. Anyway, so this is use. All these settings are good. So after I use the book, I play the audio right away. I think I forgot to mention, but pretty explanatory. It just goes in order. So this, and then this, and then this, and then this. So the order does matter. You can switch around the order like that. Or you can do it the same way here as well. So anyway, so play audio. I got a display message again saying like what is inside the case file. And then display video, as we know from the setup video or play video, that is going to be how we include our intro clips. So you should have them uploaded to your device, whichever it is, from the folder we shared in an earlier week. I do want to change these settings. I kind of liked it when the video was skippable. It's also really helpful for when I was playtesting it. I can just skip it instead of listening to it all the time. You can choose whether or not you want to have it skippable in your finished products, but for now I'm gonna have this toggled. Autoplay is on, yes. Loop off. I'm sure we all know what loop is. I only want it playing once. And these settings are fine. Next, I'm gonna introduce the first client. So it was Sarah, I believe, who came to talk about her day. I'm gonna move everything down. There isn't a way to like multi-select things in the scenario flow, so I'm just gonna have to move them all manually. But okay, so my first client, I started out with a transition effect. If you guys remember, there was like a very brief like little black like fade in my simulation. That was technically the transition effect. I don't think it's developed very cleanly to say, in my opinion. It was really quick, you could barely notice it, but even if I extended the duration, like the time that it fades in is still like really quick. But I thought I would use it anyway. In this case, I think I set it to like 3, and this is in terms of seconds. So yep, I don't want this. I want it to wait for the transition to be over. Oh, I forgot to select the effect, fade in. I think fade in, fade out looks the same. As I mentioned, like they go really fast anyway. But, okay, next I have set attributes. So let me find it first and then I will explain. There it is, set attributes. All right, so basically the attribute that I wanted to set was the visibility. So you guys noticed how Sarah only appeared whenever I got to this step. I did that with all the clients. They only appeared in their specific steps because I have them in my simulation. This is Sarah 1, I think, or Sophia. I have her toggled not visible. Same thing with this student. Student, female, yes, she is not visible. In my DEI female, she is also not visible. Or at least this means not visible in the simulation. So I have them here in my scene layout, but they are not visible when I play the simulation unless I set their attributes, virtual objects. The first one was Sophia. Unless I set her visibility attribute to true, or value on. So this means she's gonna appear, right? And I can always, so later you can see, sneak peek, I turned her off at the next step and I had the next person come in. You see there? Okay. Then I have my display message. So that was saying like, oh, someone has come in to talk to you. That's what that was. And then next I had speak. And just like for the sake of the demo, I haven't been doing the display messages since I have them here already, but I'm assuming you guys get the gist. Okay, next I had speak. Where is it? Here we go. This one was what Sarah or whoever I select will be saying. So this is when Sarah came in and talked about the issues she was having. So whatever I type here is what she's going to say. Input Sarah's issues. And you can even test it out quickly by clicking this one, or this headphone button. So I selected Sarah. Text-to-speech is okay, that's what we want. Voices, you can select whichever voice seems good to you. I'll just do Emma right now. I remember I mentioned one of my students, or the student in, I think it was my third client, the voice sounded too AI, so I could go change that here if I wanted to. Okay, and wait until finished speaking, or else it's just gonna move on before she finishes, and I don't want that. Okay? Afterwards, after she said her issue, I had a quiz asking the user or the player, how would you respond? So add a quiz node. Scroll all the way down. Alright. Multiple select is fine with me. Expand choices. I would enter my choice options here. So how would you respond? There's no right or wrong answer. I think this part is important to mention, like, to the user or the player. There's no right or wrong answer because, like, there really isn't, and I don't want them feeling pressured to like it's a real quiz when it's not. So I can have like response 1, add choice, response 2, response 3, and I do have to select at least one of them as correct. Just for like just because that's how it works, or how it was programmed. Alright, save. I don't want spoken because I kind of want it to be like the player's inner thoughts. Anchored is fine. Okay, and then I have play audio, which was my bell chime because I selected a response. So again, giving the user that sound, haptic, or sound response, giving them feedback on what they actually did something. So same settings as usual. And then, yes, a display message saying, like, good response, adding on to that story, story of the person experiencing as a community organizer. Let's see. Display message, here we go. Alright. And then for the second client, I pretty much have the same thing, right? The same transition effects, set attribute, turning the second person on. And then they speak their issue, then we have a quiz, being able to respond to them. So all of those are the same as the first one, except I just turned the visibility of Sophia off. Just like this. So I have the set attribute and I just toggled it off. And that's all. I did the same exact thing with the third client. And then at the end, I turned the third client off, or the visibility off. And I have my second highlight clip. And then same settings, video skippable for me, autoplay on, loop off, and very nice. And all of these have a regular transition. I don't need anything fancy, they just naturally flow from the last step. Okay, next I have this break, which was like the user sitting in the chair.